My stepmom demanded I share my Christmas gift with my stepbrother, and when I refused, she stole it and tried to blame me. So I exposed her and cut them off. I'm a 19-year-old guy. My father remarried when I was around 12, after my mother passed away. That's how my stepmother and her son, the stepbrother, came into the picture. At first, I tried to keep an open mind. My father seemed happier, and I wanted to give them a chance. But over the years, tensions built. My stepbrother, he's 17 now, had a bad habit of destroying my belongings, from my sports gear to personal items. Whenever I protested, my stepmom would shrug and say, "Boys will be boys. Just share your stuff." Despite the frustration, I mostly tried to keep the peace. I'd lock my door, hide anything valuable, and quietly replace what he broke if I could afford it. My father, for his part, tended to stay out of the drama. He'd say something half-hearted like, "You two should learn to get along," then change the subject. I resented that, but it was a battle I didn't have the energy to fight every single day. Things finally came to a head this last Christmas. My maternal grandfather, my mom's father, gifted me a precious watch. It wasn't just expensive, though it definitely looked fancy. It had deep sentimental value, because it once belonged to my grandfather's father, who wore it through various milestones in his life. My grandfather restored it, replaced the band, and gave it to me. He said, "Take good care of it, kiddo. It represents our family's journey. Your mother would be proud." Hearing him say that brought a lump to my throat. I promised to treasure the watch and never let it out of my sight. When I came home for the holiday break, I was excited to show off the watch, at least to my close friends. I didn't plan on flaunting it around the house, but I couldn't resist wearing it on my wrist. I noticed my father admired it, giving me a small nod. But my stepmom's eyes immediately lit up with a strange mix of envy and entitlement. She asked casually, "Oh, that's nice. Where'd you get it?" I told her about Grandpa's gift. She responded with a polite, "How lovely," but I could see the wheels turning in her head. It was only a day or two later that she approached me with a demand. "Your stepbrother wants to wear that watch, just for a bit. You should share it with him. It's Christmas, after all." My stomach tightened. I'd seen how my stepbrother handled things. He once shattered my collectible figure just to see how it would break. There was no way I'd entrust him with a family heirloom watch. So I said calmly, "I'm sorry, but this watch is special. It's from my grandpa, and I'm not comfortable letting him borrow it." My stepmom's face hardened, and she shot back, "Don't be selfish. Your stepbrother deserves nice things too. You think you're above sharing because it's from your mother's side." That last jab stung. She'd rarely brought up my mom directly, but when she did, it was always in some hurtful way. I told her it wasn't about being selfish, it was about protecting something that had huge sentimental value. I reminded her that her son had a history of damaging my belongings. She waved me off, muttering about how teenagers can be so dramatic. Then she insisted my father talk to me. My father merely said, "Hey, son, just let him wear it around the house. He won't take it outside. Relax." Hearing that made me want to scream. Nobody seemed to care about the risk of it getting broken or lost, only about keeping the peace with my stepbrother. So I stood my ground. "No, I'm not lending it to him." My father sighed, but my stepmom's glare was downright icy. I had a bad feeling that this wasn't over. Sure enough, as the days passed, my stepbrother kept pestering me. He'd corner me in the living room, saying, "Come on, let me try it. I'll be careful." I'd roll my eyes and repeat, "No." Eventually, he started whining to his mother, who then shoot me pointed looks across the dining table. I refused to bend. This watch mattered too much. I spent most of my time holed up in my bedroom, door locked, the watch on my wrist or tucked in a small safe box I'd hidden under some clothes. Late one afternoon, I decided to take a walk around the block. I locked my room as usual and left the watch behind in my safe box. I figured it'd be safer there than out in public. On my way out, I noticed my stepbrother lurking in the hallway, fiddling with his phone, giving me a sly grin. Something about that look unsettled me. But I shrugged it off, thinking maybe he was just playing around on social media. When I got back, I found my bedroom door slightly ajar. Instantly, adrenaline surged. I always locked it. My father claimed it was not a big deal, but I did it anyway. I rushed inside and saw my dresser drawers pulled out. Clothes were tossed around. My small safe box lay open, empty. The watch was gone. Heart pounding, I stormed into the living room. My father was on the couch, flipping channels, while my stepmom and stepbrother were in the kitchen. I shouted, "Where is it? My watch is missing." My father looked confused. My stepmom feigned ignorance, and my stepbrother suddenly looked fascinated by the floor. I demanded they hand it over if they took it. Silence. Then my stepmom spoke, voice dripping with false innocence. "Calm down. Why will we take your watch? Did you misplace it?" I fumed no. It was locked up, and now the safe is open. My father tried to play mediator. Let's not jump to conclusions. Maybe you forgot to lock it, but I was sure I hadn't. I kept the key to that safe on me at all times. The lock looked tampered with, scratches around the keyhole. It was obvious someone had forced it open. I glared at my stepbrother. "Give it back." He shrugged, eyes flicking to his mother. She put a hand on his shoulder, saying, "My son wouldn't steal from you." She then turned to me, adopting a tone of outrage. "You're accusing us of theft? That's quite an allegation." My frustration soared. I was certain he'd stolen it, or she'd taken it for him. But they clung to their performance of innocent offense. Determined not to let this slide, I searched the entire house. My father followed, half-heartedly asking me to calm down. My stepmom hovered, shooting daggers my way. My stepbrother made a show of checking his room, which was obviously staged. The watch was nowhere to be found. I started to panic, thinking about my grandfather. How would I explain losing something so precious? By nightfall, the tension was unbearable. My father suggested we sleep on it. Sleep on it? The watch was gone, presumably stolen, and he wanted me to let it go. I locked myself in my room, furious tears burning at the corners of my eyes. I texted a close friend, venting about the theft. My friend advised me to stand my ground and maybe threaten legal action if they didn't return it. That seemed extreme, but I was desperate. I also had a sinking feeling that if I called the police, my father would call me dramatic, and my stepmom would spin the story in her favor. Morning arrived with no sign of the watch. I confronted my father again, demanding he do something. He mumbled about not wanting to accuse anyone, but eventually said he'd have a serious talk with my stepmom. Meanwhile, my stepbrother left the house with some buddies, conveniently avoiding any interrogation. I paced around, steeling myself for another confrontation. Later that day, my stepmom marched into my room, without knocking of course, and handed me something in a small velvet pouch. My heart leapt. For a split second, I thought it was my watch. But when I opened it, I saw a cheap knockoff watch that looked vaguely similar in shape, but obviously not the genuine article. She said, "Look, I found your watch in the laundry room. It must have fallen behind the hamper." Good thing I spotted it. I stared at the bogus watch, baffled, then glared at her. "You've got to be kidding me." She put on a hurt expression. "Why are you acting so suspicious? I'm giving you back your property." I snapped, "This isn't mine. Don't play games." She acted offended, saying, "Fine, if you don't want it, give it back." I was just trying to help. Then she snatched the knockoff watch from me and stomped off. The nerve of it left me speechless for a few seconds. Clearly, she was trying to plant a fake watch so she could claim she'd returned it. She must have believed I wouldn't notice. That told me everything. She definitely had the real watch and was covering her tracks. I stomped out to the living room, furious. My father was sitting there, looking stressed. My stepmom stood beside him, arms crossed. Before I could speak, she burst into a tirade. "He's accusing us of stealing some fancy watch when we just found it behind the hamper. But he's too proud to admit he misplaced it." My father shot me a weary look, like he wanted me to just drop it. I held up the fake watch. "This is not the heirloom Grandpa gave me. You know it, and I know it." My father sighed. "Can we handle this calmly, please?" I responded, "Sure. Let's handle it calmly by returning my actual watch, not this piece of junk." My stepmom glared, hissing, "How dare you insult my kindness? You probably sold your precious watch or lost it, and now you're pinning it on us." She had the audacity to flip the narrative, painting me as reckless. I felt anger coiling in my chest, but I refused to back down. To gather proof, I reached for my phone and opened some photos I'd taken just after receiving the watch from my grandfather. Clear images of the watch's unique face and engravings were on my camera roll. I shoved my phone in my father's direction. See? This is what my watch looks like. That piece of junk she gave me doesn't match any of these details. You think I'm making this up? My father's brow furrowed as he compared the photos to the cheap watch. Even he couldn't deny the difference. But before he could speak, my stepmom launched into a new tactic, waterworks. She started crying, claiming I was trying to ruin the family holiday, that I hated her and her son, and that I was attacking them over a misunderstanding. She cried about how she tried so hard to be a good stepmother, and that I was ungrateful. My father looked torn, caught between wanting to comfort her and acknowledging the glaring evidence of her lie. I took a deep breath. Look, Dad, all I want is my watch back. If it's not in this house, then someone took it out. If you're not going to help, I'll handle this on my own. I turned to my stepmom. You have 24 hours to return it, or I'll file a police report for theft. She scoffed, you wouldn't dare. But her voice was a bit shaky, and I caught a glimpse of fear in her eyes. I'd never threatened police action before. My father stood, placing a hand on my shoulder. Come on, that's extreme. We can figure this out. I shrugged his hand away. Figure it out fast. I'm done playing along. The next morning, my father tried to talk me down from calling the police, claiming we should give it more time. I reminded him the watch was priceless, both financially and emotionally. If someone sold it, we might never get it back. He looked away, muttering something about giving stepmom and stepbrother a chance to explain. I told him they'd had plenty of chances. About midday, I took a drastic step. I posted about the situation on a private social media group that included a few relatives and close family friends, people who knew about my grandfather's watch and its sentimental importance. I laid out the facts. The watch was stolen, a fake had been planted, and I was planning to contact the authorities. Within an hour, I had messages from several relatives, outraged at what was happening. One uncle even offered to help me pay for a lawyer if I needed one. Word spread quickly, and the family's tone was, that watch is your mother's legacy. We'll stand with you. Apparently, the news reached my stepmother's family as well. Early that evening, I got a text from my father who said, come home now. We found your watch. It sounded suspicious, but I rushed back anyway. On arriving, I saw the watch lying on the dining table. My stepmom stood there with a pinched expression, claiming she discovered it hidden under a couch cushion. Her story was that she was cleaning and magically stumbled upon it. My father hovered nearby, looking relieved but also embarrassed. I picked up the watch, examined it carefully. It was definitely the real one, engraved markings and all. I faced them, trying to keep my voice steady. Explain this. How did it end up in the couch? My stepmom shrugged, feigning ignorance. No idea. Must have fallen out of your safe somehow. The blatant lie almost made me laugh. I turned to my father. Are you seriously buying this? The safe was forced open, remember? Then a fake watch appeared, and now the real one shows up in the couch. He tried to speak, but I cut him off. Look, Dad, I love you, but I'm not staying in a house where my property and my late mother's legacy is under constant threat from people who think they can steal and lie. My stepmom started sputtering, accusing me of being ungrateful. My father pleaded, let's talk it out. But I shook my head. No, this is the final straw. I packed my things that night. My father tried to change my mind, offering half measures like, we can put the watch in a safe deposit box, or we'll have a family meeting. Nothing he said addressed the real issue, that my stepmom and stepbrother had actively conspired to take something precious from me. There was no trust left. So I told my father I was leaving, whether he approved or not. As I rolled my suitcase toward the door, my stepmother had the gall to hiss, fine. Go run off. Don't expect this family to welcome you back if you're going to be so disrespectful. I paused, turned around, and quietly said, if you think respect is letting you or your son steal from me, then I don't need it. She tried to retort, but I was already stepping outside, watch safe in my pocket. A few days later, I got messages from extended family, furious with my stepmom. Some recounted stories of her entitlement. My father called me multiple times, apologizing, explaining that she'd admitted to borrowing the watch from my stepbrother. I said, borrowing? She tampered with my safe and tried to pass off a fake. That's theft, Dad. He had no answer. I told him I was done living under her roof. If he wanted to see me, we could meet somewhere else. Until then, I'd be keeping my distance. And that's where it stands now. I have my watch back, thank God. My grandfather was relieved when I told him I'd recovered it. He just shook his head, saying it was a shame how people could be so petty and selfish. I'm staying with a friend temporarily, saving up to get my own place. Meanwhile, my stepmom and stepbrother are apparently painting me as the villain who blew up the family over a watch. But I have no regrets. That watch symbolizes my mother's memory and my grandfather's love. I wasn't about to let it get destroyed or pawned off by someone who'd never understand its value.